Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video, gonna do a review of the BenRiach the 12 Speyside Single Malt Scotch Whisky. But before I get into this, I'm gonna tell you about the history of BenRiach Distillery and give you my notes on this bottle. BenRiach Distillery is located in the heart of Speyside, just south of the Elgin area of Scotland. In 1897, BenRiach Distillery was established by John Duff. In 1900, BenRiach Distillery went silent. In 1965, BenRiach Distillery was rebuilt by the Glenlivet Distillers Limited, and all stills became steam heated. In 1977, the Glenlivet Distillers Limited was taken over by the Seagram Company Limited of Canada. 3 stills and 4 maltings were still in use. In 1985, BenRiach Distillery stills were increased to 4. In 1998, BenRiach Distillery ceased floor maltings. In 1999, BenRiach Distillery became owned by Chivas Brothers Limited. In 2002, BenRiach Distillery was mothballed. In 2004, Intra Trading, that is Bill Walker, formerly of Burn Stewart, Jeff Bell, and Wayne Geisvetter, bought BenRiach Distillery for £5 million. In 2016, BenRiach Distillery was bought by Brown Forman for £285 million. The BenRiach 12-year-old Speyside Single Malt Scotch Whisky. It was aged for 12 years in ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, and ex-port casks. It is non-chill filtered, has natural color, is bottled at 46% alcohol by volume, and sells for anywhere between $67 and $70 in my neighborhood. So this is a new label on the bottle. You may still see some of the older ones around. They've given it sort of a makeover, as a lot of other distilleries have, in rebranding. I really like it. It's clean, it's clear. I like the bold print with a white background that tells you right here, maturation, sherry cask, bourbon cask, port cask. Gives you a little bit of notes on the nose and the palate, and gives you an indication whether or not it's got any peat. Says no right there. It's a nice, clean labeling. Seems to be the way distilleries are going, such as Bow Blair, Ben Romick, and some others. So I like that. However, I had high hopes for this whiskey because I've done reviews of other BenRiachs, particularly their peated 10-year-old. This is the BenRiach 10-year-old peated. I did this during my series on Highland peated Scotch whiskies. I absolutely love this bottle. I'll put a link to this review if you want to check this out. This is the older looking label, and the peated 10-year-old now has a different label on it, similar to the 12. However, when I got into the 12, I found it didn't quite meet up to the standard I was expecting having reviewed this whiskey. Now, it's not that this is a bad whiskey. It just seems sort of meh. One of the things I do when I am tasting a whiskey, reviewing a whiskey, is I ask myself, if I was trying this blind, what would I think? First of all, on the intensity, on the aromas and the flavors, it barely delivers. It seems to me that if I was doing this blind, I might think this was maybe 8 years old. It has more youth character to it. On the palate, the alcohol character is somewhat sharp. It has some sharp edges. In the maturation of a spirit, the alcohol, as it gets older, should lose some of that sharpness, that sort of cutting edge to it. Maturation makes it a little smoother, a little silkier, while still having a lot of delivery with the alcohol in terms of the flavor. Secondly, you lose some of the new makey character. this still comes across really young. Now, I do have it, getting closer down to the shoulder. It was more obviously youthful, or seemingly youthful, from the neck pour. It has gotten better. It also loses a little bit of that edge when you put a little bit of water into it, or heaven forbid, in the middle of summer, you should put some ice on it. My perception is what comes across as youthful can be the result of either climate, and it's such a cool place, maybe in a warehouse or something like that, or somewhere in Scotland. Scotland, yeah, it's cooler than here in the United States, but it's so cool that it's really not engaging with the wood. I don't think that's necessarily the case, because I think a lot of Scotland is fairly similar in a climate. I think what the real issue is, maybe the quality of the casks. You can only take out of a cask what is there to begin with. And if you don't have high quality casks, perhaps there's second fill, third fill, or something like that, then you don't have much to draw from, and therefore the transformation of the spirit into a higher quality whiskey just isn't going to happen. Now, again, I'm not saying it's bad. Moderate intense aromas of sort of a dried apple, maybe a little bit of pear, maybe a little bit of peach. Moderate notes of vanilla, hints of toffee, a little light caramel note, but everything is sort of moderate, everything's medium moderate, some of it in low intensity. It doesn't have a whole lot of transition. What you get up front, you get in the middle, and then you get it into the finish. Again, it's not a bad whiskey, it just isn't all that impressive. It's just sort of, it's all right. You know, if someone give it to you, it's all right. But it's not a bottle that I'm gonna go, man, you know what, I'm really in the mood for this whiskey and grab it and pour some. It's just not really there. It's one you can go, I'm gonna pass on this one. So what I'm gonna give it in terms of score, I'm gonna go solid 82 points. It's just an okay whiskey, a good whiskey. It's not a whiskey that, you know, it's gonna make me sad or anything like that. It just doesn't deliver. It's just really an underwhelming whiskey. If you've tried the BenRiach 12 and you think differently, let me know down below. It's always a possibility. It could be a batch variation, a bottle variation, or whatever. But I think this one is just not living up to the expectations I had based on previous experience with other BenRiachs. All right, that's it for this review. If you subscribe to this channel, I want to thank you very much. If you've not yet subscribed, if you like watching my reviews, I would greatly appreciate it. If you would subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I go live or post a new video. Until next time, Slàinte mhath. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.